camera's like looking up at me.
Sounds like a skill issue.
It is.
I say I have the opposite problem. Mine is way the fuck up there because I have my computer is kind of like up on a little like stand on the edge of my desk,
Yeah.
which is
I,
nice.
I wish I could zoom in a bit more too. Oh, and the video's like reversed. Okay.
Oh, you flipped?
Yeah, I think so. It's
All
all
right. Well,
good.
I'd say maybe this just be like a one and done for us on Streamyard
StreamYard.
unless I find out a better way. I was also trying to was it like restream or something like that, but I was fucking around with that, so I'm like I don't know.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out all this stuff like OBS Studio and whatnot where I'm trying to stream and I can't get the stupid fucking Elgato thing to work. It sucks.
Oh, really?
Well,
Yeah,
so
it is a pain.
I found online where somebody said if you use like an actual Thunderbolt, like USB-C to USB-C cable, that helps, and quality HDMI cables. So I bought two good HDMI cables and a Thunderbolt 3 cable.
Yeah.
So that's showing up today from Amazon. So if that doesn't work, then I'm like, all right, well, this thing might actually just be fucked because there's not really a way that I can get it to work. So I don't know.
I mean, the last time I used it was like 2 or 3 years ago. So if I can
Mhm.
figure out how to do it again, I can try and help you out.
Yeah, well, we'll see what we can do. I'm not too bent out of shape about it, but
All right.
so anyway though, Stalled Arrow, it's back, I guess.
Yeah, in like a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half, somewhere around there. I actually looked at on my other podcast. It was like it was a podcast a year, and then another podcast, and then another year. and,
Oh
and
boy.
I just dropped one of those last week, and I've already recorded another one. So
You know what though, to be
I'll let
fair,
you
there
know.
hasn't really been anything worth talking about.
Not a ton, but
Really. Yeah.
I will say this, so obviously we're here because of this past week
A
where
lot of stuff going down.
yeah, quite a lot of stuff that was worth talking about happened, and so we'll get to Andretti, we'll get to all the silly season stuff, but it is hilarious how Formula One, hot on the heels of Andretti and just everybody just absolutely killing them, really needed to be bailed out by an even bigger piece of news, which they got with Lewis Hamilton signing for Ferrari from 2025.
Yeah, pretty much the day after too. Did they ever give what was the official reason for denying Andretti before we get into the Lewis Hamilton thing?
It was a litany of things. I have a whole list.
Okay.
So
All right.
it
We'll,
wasn't
we'll
just
hit
one
up.
thing.
Okay. We'll hit on
Yeah,
it when we get there though.
yeah, oh yeah, no, I have many terrible things to say about Formula One.
Okay.
But on the subject of Sir Lewis Hamilton, just signed his new Mercedes contract in August, and now he's out
Yeah, it was a 1+1, I believe it was, right? And
on
Hamilton.
yeah, and I don't know if he didn't like the commitment or he didn't like the direction that it was going or whatever, but so the news came out on Thursday. It was Wednesday that we found out that Formula One denied Andretti, and
Mhm.
apparently it was also Wednesday when Toto Wolff found out that Lewis was going to Ferrari. So it's not exactly something that sounds like it's been cooking for a while.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't even in the headquarters. He had to like teleconference in to pretty much have a team meeting with everybody once the news broke. So I don't
Oh,
think
really?
yeah, I mean, he must have seen it coming, but I guess he didn't know that it had officially gone through because he wasn't there.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Just I've been thinking about it, and I understand it from Lewis's point of view. In that, if he doesn't think that Mercedes is going to win, then I guess probably Ferrari's odds are about the same. And I feel like guys who are like absolute top notch drivers like a Hamilton, I think there probably is something to just like, you know what, I'd like to drive for Ferrari at some point in my career.
Yeah, I think that the problem with Mercedes was both the engine and their aero package weren't really up to snuff. I think
Mhm.
was it last year the Mercedes engine was probably weaker than both the Red Bull power unit and the Ferrari power unit.
Yeah, I think it was certainly the third
Yeah,
best power
and
unit. Yeah.
and then not only that, well, obviously all the Mercedes teams were, I believe they were like in the bottom half of the um, speed traps at most tracks. So
Yeah,
not
with the
only that,
exception of Williams, of
yeah,
course.
but the aero is just not good on the Mercedes. Still having porpoising issues halfway through the season. They still hadn't figured that out. I think at one point they finally just decided to say screw it, raise the ride height just to get rid of the porpoising, and that pretty much took away a lot of their performance. So I think Lewis, having seen that for 2 years, seeing George Russell's stock going up, having Kimi Antonelli in F2 this year, and pretty much seeing the writing on the wall, he's probably going to be in F1 in a season or two, and I believe Toto will probably end up having Antonelli up at Mercedes eventually. So I think Lewis just figured strike while the iron's hot. Ferrari's offering him a bunch of money. A lot of drivers are going to be out of his seat next season, so you might as well take advantage of it early on in the season, which I don't really blame him. He's 39 years old right now. So, yeah, he's only got a couple more seasons left in him, I think.
Well, and so apparently the only contracts not expiring at the end of next season will be Lewis and Leclerc at Ferrari, Verstappen, of
Hmm.
course, George Russell, and then both of the McLaren drivers, Norris and Piastri, are both signed. So literally everybody else's contract
Yeah.
expires at
What
the
is
end
that,
of the
about
season.
14 drivers out of the
Yeah,
contract?
and I don't think it's going to be that same 14 guys that are going to be back for 2025.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, just off the top of my head, I think this might be Lance Stroll's last season, and I think maybe K
Yeah,
Mag's last season too. Probably Joe
yeah.
Guan Yu. So those three, I think, are most likely going to be gone at the end of this year.
I wouldn't be shocked if Zhou Guan Yu hangs on because he's been fine, and if they're still getting decent money, out of him from China, then he's probably worth keeping for another season until Audi comes on board.
Yeah, I would suppose it would depend a lot on what Bottas decides to do as well. So if he decides to leave at the end of this year, they might want to hang on to some sort of steadiness in that team with the drivers.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. I don't know. It's all going to be very interesting. And then, of course, there is the news very relevant to you. The rumor is Alex Albon back to Red Bull on a 3-year contract.
I got the
In
Red
20,
Bull,
yeah, I
the
see
Red
that.
Bull hoodie on. Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, it is coming from Pete Windsor, who's really been hit or miss last couple of years, but this seems like he's really going out on a limb here. I don't know if he would say anything this ridiculously stupid if he didn't have some sort of inkling that it was true.
it's 3 years, and that's an awful strong contract from Red Bull.
It is 3 guaranteed years in a Red Bull seat, which is what's making me kind of not believe it. If it was like they offered him a 1-and-1, I can
Right.
understand. But the 3 years is really throwing me off and making it kind of hard to believe right now.
That is actually the part that to me I was like, 3 years, really? All right, I guess, man.
Yeah, yeah.
you know, um, I don't know. So I mean, that's going to be just. I'd imagine that this Hamilton thing is probably not the last shocking driver news that we'll have this season. So, but I would say the main thing. I mean, I'm not the world's biggest Hamilton fan, so that wasn't really the news to me last week. That was Andretti and
Yes.
Formula One. Just was it that they were the Lucy to Andretti's Charlie Brown? I think I saw somebody say where it's every time that Andretti comes up to try to kick the football, it's Formula One just pulls it out of the way.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they just petitioned them again, I think. So,
I
well,
don't think that they're done.
no.
And Europe is interesting in that there's only so much that they can actually do to keep Andretti out of there.
Yeah.
So, and Michael Andretti has been he's certainly not above a lawsuit. to try to get into it.
Yeah.
Um, but so far, I mean, the Formula One, they put out all these hoops, and Andretti jumped through all of them. And especially, like, the biggest thing was Formula One has been saying for years they wanted more OEMs,
Hmm.
so more
Hmm.
engine suppliers and all that stuff. And Andretti said, okay, yeah, we have GM. They're going to start doing that in 2028 if you let us in. And for Formula One to turn that down, but I mean, there was a bunch of ridiculous stuff done, but to me, that is like the most fraudulent thing was when they said, well, no, you can come in for 2028, which coincidentally is after they sign a new Concord agreement to where they can increase the fee that Andretti will have to pay to enter. Um, it's all it's farcical. It's just doing everything that they can to not give Formula One fans the thing that they want, which is more teams on the grid.
More teams, more drivers. I mean, this will open up
Another
at
engine
least,
supplier, you
yeah,
know?
at least four more drivers. I mean, how many years has the F2 champion won F2 and then not get a seat in F1 the year
Right.
after? 3 years in a row now.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, and you think about it, if Andretti comes in, that's two more drivers and at least two more reserve test and simulation drivers that they can hire. That's more blood in the on the F1 grid. Uh, because let's face it, there are drivers in F1 that don't need to be in there right now, and it's kind of been boring seeing the same drivers and pretty much the same two or three teams fighting for the top spots for the last decade pretty much at this point, so I think just having an 11th team with more cars on the grid would be great for the sport, but
I mean, it's also you're looking at literally hundreds of new Formula One jobs.
yes.
New mechanics, new guys working back at the factory on the car and all that stuff. It is a massive positive for everything except for revenue split for the
Yeah,
teams.
but my argument there is Andretti already has a fan base here in
Oh,
the
of course.
U.S., so you've got another huge group of Americans who uh, are going to spend way more money on this sport to support Andretti if they watch NASCAR or IndyCar. I'm not sure if Andretti is still involved in both
Yes.
those. Okay, uh,
IndyCar anyway, yeah.
yeah, IndyCar. So that's I'd say a couple more million American fans that probably weren't into F1 who will at the very least hang around for a little while once Andretti comes in just to check it out.
I mean, it's very much, like to me, it's like, okay, so Formula One, they want American money, but they don't actually care about, American fans. Because,
Mm.
like Haas, I'm sorry, man. Like I love Haas. I've been trying my best to support Haas the last couple of years. They don't make it easy. And that's not it's not an American Formula One team in the way that Americans want an American Formula One team.
Yeah, it's American in name only, pretty much.
Right. And Ferrari engines, and the only American involved in it, is Gene Haas, who Americans like, they don't give a shit about Gene Haas.
No,
Like
no, not
they
really.
they like Michael Andretti.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we all know Michael Andretti, like
He's got history in the sport, or at least in the auto sports anyway, going back to the
oh yeah,
what 50s, 60s?
60s.
Yeah, 60s.
So, I mean, it is like, apologies, I suppose, to probably Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty would be the other two, but Andretti is the most known name in American motorsports. I've been randomly asking people that don't follow motorsports, just, like, hey, do you know who Mario Andretti is? Or, just have you ever heard the name Mario Andretti? Everybody knows the name Mario Andretti. It's if you're an American and you have a driver's license, at some point when you were 16, you drove too fast, and somebody said, "Whoa, slow down there, Mario Andretti." It's just Haas it's fine, but they're also a fraudulent team that hangs around at the back of the grid all year, every year. Um, Andretti will not stand for that. Andretti's going to spend the money that Gene Haas has already said that he will not. It's I don't know. It's to me, it is the perfect situation for adding another team to the grid. And Formula One just said, actually, that's not what we want, but we are going to go and trademark a fourth U.S. Grand Prix in Chicago, which
Did they do
I don't know,
that?
man. Yeah, they did. They
Oh
trademarked it. They
man,
didn't like, there's nothing beyond that. Just that they trademarked like Grand Prix of Chicago or whatever.
that's
Um,
just what we need. Another shitty ass Grand Prix in the United States that doesn't bring any action.
I, like, and I liked Vegas. I thought that that was actually a very
Yeah,
cool.
you know what?
That ended up being neat.
Yeah,
Um,
if they'd have toned down all the extracurricular stuff, I think
I
the
mean,
race
yeah,
itself is
yeah.
fine.
The race was very. I thought the
Yeah.
race was a lot better. I think than anybody thought it was going to be. So I mean,
Mhm.
I think the U.S. I think it can support two races. I think it should be Coda and it should be Vegas, and that should probably be it. Even
Yeah.
Miami is like, man, Miami's like tacky. Vegas is also tacky, but like Vegas knows that it's tacky. But it's, I don't know. Formula. It's I mean, to not to ADHD my way around here too much. So to get back to Andretti though, I'll say the single dumbest thing that I heard said was when Formula One said that in their estimation that Formula One would bring value to Andretti and not vice versa is maybe the dumbest thing I've ever heard
Yeah,
said.
I don't know about that. I mean, what
There
is Haas bringing to F1?
well, so I mean think about it, right? Which teams would you say bring actual value to Formula One? Because I can only think of one.
I mean, probably Ferrari and Red Bull at the moment. I
I
think that's about it.
I think it's just Ferrari
Yeah.
because Red Bull is a great team and Mercedes is a great team. But if we woke up tomorrow and Red Bull was replaced by like an equally good team called like Monster Energy Formula One Toyota or whatever, and Mercedes, we wake up tomorrow, Mercedes is BMW, like nothing really would change.
You're right. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Max Verstappen's bringing a lot of
Yeah, Verstappen is.
into
Yeah,
F1. So vicariously through Verstappen, I suppose Red Bull is. But yeah, you're right. Red Bull itself, if they lost Verstappen tomorrow, they would probably
right.
be just
It
as
it wouldn't
meaningless.
matter,
Yeah.
and but Ferrari's Ferrari. That is the only team that if Ferrari was to leave and they could just start up their own new open wheel racing series, it's just everybody would go with them and Formula One would cease to exist. So
Yeah. Yeah.
to me, it just that seems like a ridiculous onus to put on Andretti that oh, you have to bring value to Formula One. And it's like, okay, man, like that. Not for nothing, they're bringing General Motors,
Yeah.
one of the largest manufacturers in the world, easily the largest of the American manufacturers,
Hmm.
and one of the great engine builders of all time, General Motors. Like you can like General Motors or not, but those cars are going to run like shit longer than most other cars run at all. Right?
True. True.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's just how they are. Right? So if they come in and they're going to build an engine, it's going to be a good engine. It's going to work. You know.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think I think right away they would probably be battling with the Haas's and the Alfa Romeos of the grid
yeah,
anyway. So I mean,
I think
you
so.
can't be
It's
worse than those two teams.
no, and Sauber really ought to be better. Like they have their own wind tunnel and all that shit. Haas, it's just Gene Haas has just said he doesn't want to spend any more money. And also, by the way, he doesn't understand why they're not getting podiums. I'm like, buddy, that's why you're not
Yeah,
getting podiums.
yeah. I mean, I want to take a look at the numbers, but I want to see how close they actually even came to the cap last year,
They
if they even hit it.
this past season when they got MoneyGram as a title sponsor is
Hmm.
I believe the first time that they were able to spend to the cap. But the problem at that point is not even the cap, it's that you don't have the infrastructure that Mercedes and Ferrari and all these teams do. Like teams like
Yeah,
Williams that they want to build new facilities, but but Mercedes and all the teams that already have all this stuff are saying no, you have to go inside the cost cap to do it, which is impossible.
yeah. I think yeah, James Valls spoke about that, and I think at the moment he's trying to get a workaround to allow some of the backmarker teams to spend a little bit more, or have the cost cap not count towards some of the
It
infrastructure stuff.
shouldn't, yeah.
Yeah, just because at this point it's going to be impossible for them to catch up. Even if they miraculously, if Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari all miraculously broke down every single race and Williams ended up winning every single race, no amount of prize money in a season is going to help them catch up with the way that the cost cap is structured at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's really it wouldn't be sustainable anyway. You might catch
No.
lightning in a bottle for a year, but
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to do what a Red Bull or a Ferrari or a Mercedes is able to do year over year, with
Right.
just,
Right.
you know, building, really great race cars every year. It's every once in a while you're gonna have a miss, you know?
Yeah. I think what's that payment that Ferrari gets every year for being one of like the legacy teams in F1?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know what it's called. I just know it's a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I guarantee it's more than whatever whoever finishes 10th in the constructors is even getting as prize money for that year.
Right, and
So right away, they're already down just from that legacy payment to Ferrari, you know?
yeah, exactly, and that is really why that actually kind of ties into where I was saying that Ferrari is really the only manufacturer that brings
Mhm.
value to Formula One. You can tell because Formula One pays them that money.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
nobody else. It's literally just Ferrari. So, and so one of Formula One's other concerns to me was also very stupid and short sighted. They were concerned that the manufacturer supplying them the engines wouldn't care because you're only looking at probably 3 years until General Motors comes in with with their own engine. Um, it would have actually been 2 years because at this point Andretti had actually punted on 2025. They were planning on entering in 2026. So the idea for Andretti was that they had a deal. They were going to get engines from Renault for a couple of years, to come in and then eventually build their own. And Formula One was thinking, well, what use would that be to Renault? And to me, I'm like, well, that would be a massive help to Renault right now because their engine sucks
Yeah.
because they only have 2 cars worth of data every race. And by the way, the cars, like for the most part, Formula One engines don't blow up anymore, except for Renault's.
For some reason. Yeah, ask, Alonso from 2 years ago.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, it would actually, to me, it would be a big help to Renault for them to be able to sell engines to Andretti for the next 2 or 3 years, because they would get them a couple engines this year because they'd be in testing and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, you would just more you would get Renault more data because Renault is so far behind the other teams on the engine. Like I worry about how long Renault is going to continue to stick it out because why would you just want to show up every day where everybody just acknowledges that, oh yeah, of the four engines yours is far and away the worst.
Right, and whatever money that Andretti would be paying them for the engines would obviously help them with their cost cap as well, or
Right,
their
100%.
costs. So, yeah, to say that it wouldn't help the engine manufacturer is I don't know. For some reason, everything's just pointing to. I think Gene Haas has made it known to the powers that be that he wants to sell the team in like a year and a half, or in a year or two, and I think the FIA just don't want to add on another team and risk Haas selling his team to some other, I don't know, privateer company that is going to make a joke out of F1. If you get what I'm saying,
It
you know.
was it was pretty close. I mean, before Vladimir Putin decided to invade the Ukraine, it was getting pretty close to Mazepin's dad
Pr-
buying Haas
Yeah,
Formula One.
I mean, it was pretty much Oral Kali
Yeah,
F1 at that
it
point,
was.
you know?
We forget that it's not all that long ago that American team Haas car was painted up like the Russian flag.
Yeah. I mean, just so happens red, white, and blue are
Yeah,
American
that's
colors, but I mean,
right,
it
but
didn't.
not yeah.
Yeah.
Which call me crazy. Don't think that would happen with Andretti.
No,
you
no,
know,
no.
I don't see I don't see that happening. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It all just seems very short sighted from Formula One to me, where they're also like to Andretti. It's like, oh hey, you're welcome to reapply for 2028. When we raise the entry fee to like $1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, that would make more sense. Either they don't either they want Haas to sell to Andretti, or they wanna hold off until long enough to where they will end up making Andretti paying a crap ton more money, which either way is gonna work out for Formula 1 management anyway, so I think it's in their best interest to delay this, entrance for as long as possible, but, obviously, you can see the fans weren't happy with that.
Some of it really does seem at this point like Formula One just like doesn't like Michael Andretti personally. Yeah,
It does, it
he's
does.
he's been let's be honest. He's been a little bit of a dick.
He's
Uh,
been persistent, which,
he's been
I can
outspoken.
understand. Yeah.
Which like look, man, like he's American. Like that's who he is. Like as a team owner,
Yeah,
even in
I don't know much about his actions in IndyCar or the man himself or like his, personality or anything like that, just from what I read in the media. So, is this how he is?
he's not a guy. Well, he's certainly not a guy that, in terms of stuff like this, likes to be told no.
Yeah, I
Especially
imagine.
when he's done everything that they told him to do. Like, I really can't blame him. But he's probably what you would call like tough but fair. So like
Mhm.
a lot of the reason why Roman Grosjean no longer drives for him in IndyCar, it's not it wasn't results. It was basically that, like Grosjean at times was like being a dick to like the mechanics and the team when stuff was going wrong, and Andretti was just like, all right, man, well, get lost. you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Um
Okay.
I mean, some of it was results because Grosjean really should have been a lot better than he was, but um I don't know. I think for an American Formula One team owner, I think he's the right guy. You know, in terms of like other like big formula, in like other big American, like maybe like a Roger Penske who has the money, but I don't think he's that guy. Plus, he really loves IndyCar and the Speedway, and he's big into NASCAR and all that stuff. Chip Ganassi, who I don't know, man. I don't really see it. So Andretti to me, I'm like that. It's open wheel is their number one thing. I don't know. I think it makes all the sense in the world, and I think it's stupid for them to deny it. It's ridiculous to me.
I wonder how hands-on he would be with this team. Would he just be like Gene Haas, kind of just
No,
no?
you would hear from Michael Andretti.
Okay.
Um,
I would love. I mean, just from hearing about him for the last couple weeks, couple months, I would love for him to take that team principal position and be in the paddock or the pit lane during the races, just to kind
he
of see how he how he
he would
handles
be an
it.
interesting guy to have around. Just
Yeah.
he's got I don't know. He's got a personality to him. He's not like I don't know. He's not like a dickhead exactly, but like I said, he's not gonna suffer indignities, to his team. Like this stuff, he's not just gonna walk away from what happened with Formula One saying no to him the other day.
No, this. I mean, obviously, he's already come back and repetitioned. I'm not sure if he repetitioned F1 or if he petitioned the European courts.
I think that's
Um,
probably the route it's gonna go
yeah,
because there is, some amount of like, look, he wants to participate in your sport, like and has literally done everything that you told him he needed to do.
yeah, he's checked everything off the list, and they're giving him kind of BS answers and responses as to why they're denying him. I don't know how official this is, though. Is this
I
like?
don't I don't it's not it
I'm not
doesn't
sure
sound
how
like
they
it's
work.
exactly like it's not like 100% like the end,
Yeah,
but it is if he
is
was if
it?
it was a less serious effort, it would probably be enough to have somebody else stop, but not Andretti would be my guess.
He was trying to get in for 2025. Is that correct?
That was the initial plan, was to get in for 2025
Okay.
because they wanted to be in uh before the regulation change
So
and
are they denying his entrance into the 2025 season, or are they denying his entrance?
they're denying the entrance in 2025. They've
Okay.
told him they would reconsider for 2028
Yeah, let's see
when they
how
get
that
the new
goes.
Concord agreement and the entrance fee can go up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
I mean, I don't know, like to some extent, be like, uh, I don't know. He should be, to me, like, do like what I do, like when I'm applying for a job, and just be like a jerk about it. Be like, how much money do you want? Like, just tell me the number. Stop being a weasel.
Yeah.
Stop acting like this is about anything other than money. How much money do you want? You know,
It seems, yeah. I mean, Formula One's a lot of politicking. You probably read articles during the off season all the time about some of the behind the scenes stuff that happens in F1. So I'm not surprised that they denied him this time. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a play at another move, um, to try and give him like the upper hand in the next negotiation. I guarantee you that's all. That's all it is.
it's dumb because they have to say, oh well, like we want America involved, and like literally I mean, I know you're not really on Twitter, but like
Yeah, I try to stay away.
that day when like before the Hamilton news came out,
Hmm.
just literally every single thing that you saw on there, like if there were polls of like, was Formula One wrong to deny Michael Andretti, and it was they're all like 98% yes. It's um it's like the first time I've ever seen like all of Formula One Twitter being like united on something. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I wasn't on Twitter, but every other like news article that I read or YouTube video that I watched, pretty much all the comments were in the same vein as what you mentioned. So quite a large portion of the F1 fandom is upset about this. In fact, I don't think I read a single comment that was on the contrary, that were like, yeah, this is an amazing decision. I support F1 in their decision. So
I mean, you really can't, because for those people, it's like you can't hear them with the boot in their mouth.
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's like, buddy, like, why do you hate fun? Why do you want like just the status quo? The more teams there are, the more like the more quality people you have to spread around through all the other teams. It makes all the other teams marginally worse, which is good.
Right, right, right.
Like, you want all of these teams to actually be worse at what they do, because that will make everything more interesting.
Yeah, because the issue right now is obviously Red Bull is beating the crap out of everybody. So
Right?
why would anybody leave Red Bull to go work for? I mean, other than like James Vowles, but that guy's a machine.
All
He
right,
left
psychopath.
Mercedes to go to Williams. Yeah. Um, why
Although
would, even though there has been rumors that Adrian Newey is about to leave Red Bull, why would
I can't
Adrian Newey
I can't
leave Red
imagine.
Bull? Yeah, why would he leave Red
uh,
Bull to go to a team like Alpine or something like that? You know,
no, I mean, going to Alpine would make zero sense. I mean, like, you'd have to offer him just like all the money, and he doesn't
pretty
seem like a
much.
guy that's what he's after.
Yeah.
And I think he's always valued the fact that Red Bull basically just leaves him alone. And they
Hmm.
it's like, they let him build the car that he wants to build, and that's pretty much it, and they've always done it that way. I can't imagine Adrian Newey anywhere
Yeah.
else at this point, but I also probably couldn't have imagined Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes. So
Yeah, and I think Ferrari poached another one of Mercedes' bigger engineers behind the scenes as well. So that
yeah,
might have
Lewis is
been,
supposed to be bringing a bunch of people with him, I believe.
yeah, that would probably be one of the reasons why Lewis decided to leave. I know that a lot of Mercedes and Red Bull engineers and um, guys at the factories have been poached by some of the smaller teams. So it should be an interesting season to see how this turns out.
Yeah, it definitely will be. I don't know. I don't really think I have a whole lot else to add on either of those subjects. I don't know. You got anything else?
Nah, you wanna play Duck Duck Goose with the drivers?
Oh, what do you got?
I just
Oh, see where they're gonna wind up.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, hold
You know
on.
what I was thinking today all day is we are gonna see an amazing fucking season because Carlos Sainz is not gonna give a shit anymore. He's
No.
not gonna listen to Ferrari's strategy. He's not gonna prioritize Leclerc. He's gonna be all about himself this year to try and secure himself a seat for next year. If the rumors are true, then Perez is gonna be out of a seat next year.
Mhm,
And even though he's not gonna be anywhere close to threatening Max, he's not gonna listen to the Red Bull pit wall during the races anymore either.
mhm. All right.
So this is going to
T-
be a
tell you what,
very fun season.
I have the list of everybody in front of me.
Okay.
Let's go through them really quick, and we'll see where we think everybody winds up.
All right. Yeah, we'll do that.
All right. Checo.
Oh man, this is tougher than I thought it was gonna be. You go
I know, right?
first.
It starts right out.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
let's I don't know. So Checo, I suppose, could stay if the Albon news is not true.
Yeah.
Or if not, he would have to go.
I mean, he
I
is out of a contract, right?
Yeah,
Like you said
he is
before.
out of
Yeah.
contract
He's
after
one of the guys.
2024.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't see anywhere that would even be close to the level that the Red Bull would be at now, you know? I mean, the only team he could go to would be Mercedes or Ferrari, where he'd be in
Tell
a
you what,
competitive
we could
car.
let's simplify this a little bit for us. Let's just go with
Okay.
stay and go.
Go. I think he's
All right.
gone.
Well, okay. Carlos Sainz, he's gone. Get
Yeah,
out of here.
definitely gone.
We'll find a seat somewhere, probably Audi, Sauber, whatever.
I think so.
Fernando Alonso.
Uh, that's a tough one. I think it'll depend on how the Aston Martin does in the first few races this year. If it
Mhm,
turns out to be the same exact car that they were driving towards the second half of the season last year, he's gone. But
mhm.
if they've made a marked improvement like they did at the beginning of last year, I can see him staying at Aston Martin. Undecided. I'll go undecided.
I'm gonna go stay for Fernando Alonso.
Okay.
I think he does a third season at Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll.
I think he's gone.
Yeah, Gonzo.
Yeah.
Gasly and Ocon.
I think Ocon will probably have no choice but to stay, but I can
Mhm.
see another team poaching Gasly.
I think they both stay. I just
Okay.
I don't know. Like I don't think either of them have been super impressive. I don't think Gasly's been particularly impressive, but
His stock was
you
on
know,
the rise for a season or two, and then it kind of plateaued in the last. I
sort of
mean,
what happens when you
yeah,
go and drive an Alpine, I guess.
yeah.
Alex Albon.
I want him to stay, but I think a betting man would say he's gone.
I've enjoyed Albon at Williams, and I think kind of the maturation process and him really kind of becoming a team leader has actually been it's been good to see,
Yeah,
and I think he likes that team. It wouldn't shock me if he stayed. Um, but man, if Red Bull offers you a 3-year contract, that's hard to turn down.
yeah. The only thing I can think about, if the rumors are true, I think Alex can do well at Red Bull. I think the biggest issue with him during his first stint was he was always at risk, right, of losing
Yeah,
his
that's always
seat.
a tough situation.
Yeah, and he was still. I mean, he was a rookie in that first half of year that he was there, and in the second season, it was a COVID delayed season, and
Yep.
then right away Hamilton drives into him and
Well,
steals a
and
possible
even
win
then,
at Austria.
his results were, I think, better than people remember.
They were better. They were closer. Yeah, he was closer to Max than Checo was to Max, but because the car
Right.
was so much better with Checo, when
Right.
Checo was in it, it looked better. But
Right.
yeah, so if the rumors are true and Alex has got a guaranteed 3-year contract,
Mhm.
I can see him being confident and saying, "I don't have to worry about my seat anymore. Let's go back to Red Bull and see how this turns out."
Yeah, real different guy now too than he was
Yeah,
then. I remember
yeah,
the on the radio be like, "Oh, they're racing me so hard," and I'm like,
right, right.
that's certainly not him now.
No,
He's the guy racing people like that.
yeah.
Um, Logan Sargent.
I love the kid, but I think he's gone at the end of this season.
I think that's probably true. He would have
Yeah.
to he would have to knock it up a notch to keep that seat for another year.
Yeah, Williams has a couple academy drivers coming on through. Mercedes has Kimi Antonelli coming up.
Oh
If he
yeah, so he
does
could wind
well,
up.
yeah,
Well, then if Albon's out of the seat, I suppose it could be Antonelli and Sargent.
it could. Yeah, it would. It would. See, what's so difficult is there's so many seats up for grabs right now.
Right, yeah.
It's so
It's
difficult.
basically just all of them.
Yeah,
Danny Rick.
I, I can see Red Bull keeping him just for the PR value from Ricardo.
I can see
So
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll say stay.
Uh, yeah, I agree with that. Yuki Tsunoda.
Another tough one. He needs a breakout season. Otherwise, I think he's
He
gone. I think Red Bull's going to throw Liam Lawson in there because Lawson did.
He
just as well or better than Yuki in like the 3
he
races that
does
he
have
won.
though, he does have a landing spot at Aston Martin since they're now gonna be the Honda Works team.
That's true. That's true. He might take Stroll's
Take,
spot.
take Stroll's seat and then see how he compares to Alonso, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um Valtteri Bottas.
I think he yeah, I think he could be gone as well.
He was in
Hasn't been
Brackley the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he
That would
knows
be
his
that'd be a
time's
hell of a thing.
I mean, yeah, I can see Mercedes deciding to bring Bottas in to just to bridge the year or two for Kimi to come through.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I can't see him languishing in the Alfa Romeo much anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I don't know
Mhm.
why he'd want to continue hanging around there
Yeah,
unless they make some strides. Zhou Guan Yu.
I think he's gone too. Unless, like you said earlier, if the team really needs that money,
Mhm.
they'll keep him. But if the team is looking to improve and actually make themselves a force in F1, I think they're better off just getting rid of him and bringing in a young guy to develop for the next regulation changes.
I could see that. I think he's been pretty good. I mean, as far as like pay drivers go, I think he's been reasonably good. He's
Yeah,
put up decent numbers against Valtteri, so I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they keep him.
yeah. The car hasn't been
Um,
amazing anyway, so it's not like he can really do much in that thing.
right. And then the two Haas drivers, Hulkenberg and Magnussen.
Magnussen, I think, is gone. Hulkenberg, I think,
Hulkenberg, I
can.
think, stays.
Yeah. I mean, what? Who else they have? They got the.
I mean, well, they got Ollie Behrman is one of their reserves. He was pretty good in testing. I
Yeah,
don't think he impressed them. And man, who was the other one they have as a reserve or a junior?
they got one of the Fittipaldi brothers, right? E-
Yeah, they have
Enzo, Enzo Fittipaldi, I think.
is he the younger one? Well,
Yeah,
Pietro Fittipaldi has been their reserve driver for the last couple of years.
yeah, yeah. I
But
think
yeah,
they have
his
Enzo.
younger brother I think is more talented.
Yeah, by far.
So yeah, I don't know. So it might be one of those two. But yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think Hulkenberg stays, Magnussen probably goes.
Yeah. But again,
But
it all depends on how their season goes this year and what other seats are taken up and when.
yeah, no, definitely. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't know. You got anything else?
Just one more thing. I've been reading some comments about Vettel possibly coming back to Mercedes to do that 1 or 2 year stint. What do
Oh,
you
that
think
would be
about that?
interesting. I mean,
You-
I don't know about it. I thought Vettel at the end of his Aston Martin run was still quick and still a good driver, but I don't know. I figured when he retired, he seemed like the kind of guy to stay retired.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few races where he was not able to get the best of Lance Stroll, and
Yeah,
it's
whereas
Lance
Alonso
Stroll.
has just handed him his ass for the
Yeah,
entire,
yeah. Alonso has pretty much kicked the crap out of him in every single race. So I can't see Total Wolff. I mean, unless they really want to pull a PR thing, but I don't think they're going to waste a year or two just for that. I think they'll bring in somebody that will actually help develop the car as opposed to Vettel.
I guess that's probably why Valtteri Bottas would probably be my current favorite to go there. Just he's a known quantity. He's a good driver. He was always did what was in the team's best interest.
Yeah,
So
solid number two driver who won't threaten George and won't question team orders. I could see it.
yeah,
I
I
could
mean
see them bring him back.
a little bit boring, I guess, but it's not that Valtteri's boring. It's just it's a little bit of a. I think that would be the boring move to make, but
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
Nothing's gonna top the Hamilton to Ferrari move though.
No, pretty much. I mean, that's sort of the biggest possible thing. The most popular driver going to the most popular team. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sort of hard to beat. I don't know what's anything new in Formula One sim racing. What have you been up to?
Absolutely nothing, man. I don't know if you've been following along, but they canceled F1 esports this year.
Oh, did it really?
They did one race. They were supposed to have two races on the first weekend. They did one and then like they canceled the second one and then everybody showed up for round 2. I think it was like in Sweden somewhere. And
Hmm.
then they ended up just canceling it.
Really?
So yeah,
Huh.
they did one race, and I don't know. I mean, usually by now the esports season is long over, and they've only got one race under their belt. So
All right. Good
yeah,
times.
yeah,
Oh, all right.
what a mess.
I guess so. Jeez.
Yeah,
So I got a whole lot of nothing going on. I haven't been on my sim for, I mean, at least a week because I almost broke my ankle last week. So
yeah. How's that going for you?
it's a little bit better. It's I probably could go and do that. I mean, like, look, I'm slow anyway, so it's like, how much slower could I be? you know,
Do
um,
you race with just one foot, or do you left foot
no,
brake?
no, no, no. I'm a left foot breaker.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, at least I got that. So I mean, it's not like I'm, you know, uh, I right foot brake in my work truck, but in sim racing, I'm a left foot breaker. So
Okay. All right. Good for you.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So it's getting a little bit better. We'll see how it goes. I'm still was it I put out the podcast on the R32 Skyline GTR, which was a good one. And then I recorded one about the 1967, 1968 Indy turbine cars. So it
I
was
don't
like
know anything about that.
yeah, well, so
I'll have to check it out.
yeah, it's a pretty good one. It was was it Andy Granatelli and STP? They ran a turbine car in '67. They were just absolutely smoking everybody, and the car died like 4 laps from the end of the race. Uh, they showed up the next year in '68. Carroll Shelby also came with some turbine cars, but his were just junk. Um, and yeah, so it was a cool episode. Now I'm writing one about Bigfoot the monster truck. So that's gonna be the next episode. So
Of
good times.
Sunday
I know, right?
fame.
I'm absolutely gonna have I'll have sound clips like that in there. It'd be great.
There you go.
But yeah, so I think that probably does it for this episode. I think we'll probably try to do stuff during the season, race recaps and whatnot, like we used to do. Why not?
For our two listeners,
Yeah, for our two
listen,
listeners,
we've
both
said
use.
this before. We talk about this crap anyway. We just figured we might as well
Right, yeah, we
record it.
we would have had this exact same conversation today.
Yeah,
Just
through 8 hours worth of text messages.
yeah, we're just
So
big enough narcissists that we also
yeah,
think that we should film it and put it on YouTube. So
it's
but
just fun.
yeah. So anyway, yeah. So Stalled Arrow guys, thanks for watching. I might post this as a podcast. I don't know. We'll see how I do.
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. See you later.
we'll see you in 6 months.
There we go.